So this video though is about camera cranes. I had this camera crane, it's currently upside down, but I had this up on the ceiling above the lathe, and of course it worked, and it was on a set of tracks up there, so it rolled back and forth. I may actually turn this into a rolling floor camera crane type of a deal, but not yet. What this video is about though is this. That is one of two new cranes that I built. Well, it's one of them that is built, and the other one is going to be built on this video. So what this is a 70-pound lifting magnet, and then it's got I took the bolt out of the center of this, and the little thing that you'll see here in a minute, took that out and put it in an arm, and then an arm, and then this, my GoPros, just click right into it. And then I can point the camera wherever I want. I got rotational here. This is completely articulating, so I don't really have to worry about the camera crane pointing a certain way. However, since it's a magnetic, I can turn it, and it won't bother it a bit. So, this is what we're starting with. I picked this up at Menard for about $8, and they are pretty dang strong. Ugh. So, toss this away. Okay, so just to show you about how strong these are, this is a 70-pound magnet. I have a 25-pound anvil here, which it has absolutely no problem with. And then this block of steel next to it actually weighs about 45 pounds, and it has no problem with that. So, I figured there's plenty of grip, and I can mount them anywhere on any machine in the shop to do videos. Now, at the lathe, having a camera on the lathe is not always a good idea. If I'm doing something a little bit out of weight or out of balance, it's going to shake the lathe. So, when I redid this area, there was a metal cabinet right here, and it had metal shelves, and I didn't need it anymore, and I can always use the metal for other projects. So what I did was I took the shelves out of it and stuck two of them on the ceiling. Ta-da! Now I can actually still do the overhead shots just like that, and I can still have it on the ceiling. Now, when I'm doing longer videos, of course, I have to use that power outlet up there. It's just an extension cord running over to an outlet, and I can run a cord down to the camera. So I figure it's a decent sacrifice. With the aluminum crane, I had a permanent line up there, so all I had to do was put the camera on, plug it in, and go. Now I'll have to actually get out my little step ladder, get up there and plug the power supply in, drop the line down, plug it in. But I only have to do that once at the beginning of the filming of the video, and then at the end of the video I have to take it down. So that's a small price to pay for this kind of convenience, because that will stick anywhere up there on those two panels and be just fine. Now the one I'm going to build today is actually going to be a little bit longer arm. I'm going to do a 3-joint arm, and this one has about a 40, I want to say a 40-inch reach, might be 42, and the new one's going to be about 50. Just a little bit longer, but it's going to have a triple joint so I can get a few more like angles and whatnot. But anyway, let me get set up, and we'll start making a magnetic-based camera crane. Right? Right. Alright, so now we got that out of the way, we're back over here to our little magnet. And the first thing is to get the bolt exposed that goes through the handle on it. Well, I'll show you this real quick. Spacing here is just a hair under 1.5 inches, or a hair over 1.5 inches, sorry. And then your width across here is just a little over 3 1/4, 3 3/8. That'll come into play here in a minute, but we're going to take the 1.5 inch spacing out. This side is smaller, I'm sure you can see that on the camera, but so after a bit of experimentation there, I'm ended up with this. Really, probably the best thing to have done would have been just to make it the way these are made, just a straight across. But I didn't want to shorten this too much, and I had already cut it at a point and went, oh well, so I cut off a point, and here we are. So now leave a little bit of a gap in there, and that lets it swing around, articulate farther. So let me, well, I've got it laying down like that, you can see it nice and plain. I'm going to put a pencil line here and here. Bring on the glue. And then I'm going to set him down in there, about where I had him. And we'll stick a clamp on him. And very carefully take this out, keeping everything lined up. Should have drilled my holes just a little over a quarter. I made them exactly a quarter. It's alright, make it easier to tighten up later. On this joint, you don't need to do any extra stuff to it, because when you tighten this bolt, they're flat against each other. They're going to hold just fine. However, on these two, the arm, the base arm and the head, they're going to need a little sandpaper disc on the end of the arm. So I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to bring on the sandpaper. So this is some sticky back paper for a 6-inch grinder, or a 6-inch orbital sander. Oh, forgot something. I gotta have a place to hold the nut, which means I need to drill a tiny little 7/16" hole. Well, recess this with a 7/16" hole, so the nut will sink into it and lock into place. Worked on the other one, figure it'll work on this one. I gotta do that on both of these. Be right back. Okay, so I drilled a little hole here that'll be big enough for the nut to pull down into and lock into place. That way I don't have to epoxy it. I mean, I could, by all means, take a small chisel and actually chisel out the hexagon, or the hexagon, and let it sink into that, but I don't really need to, since I'm going to tighten this thing down and then it'll set all by itself and we'll be all set to go. Now I can get it to line up, get it back together, we'll be in good shape. Now it lined up. What are you doing, Tigger? No, don't play with that cord. That's the power cord for the camera. No, no, don't fight. Damn cat. Love my animals, really I do. Even when they're annoying. See how that nut just sinks right down in there? It's locked in place. And guess what? This is too. Or will be. Maybe a little further. There you go. Once you do it a couple times, it becomes a little easier. You don't have to crank it down quite that hard. Or if it's too awful bad, you can slot this a ways, and that'll help it give it some spring. There we go. All right. I opt for the eye bolts instead of putting just a bolt through there with a wing nut is because if you are having problems with it slipping, you can put a tool through this eye bolt and turn it, where with a wing nut you cannot do that. So I totally changed my mind, realized that I needed to get the lacquer on them before I put the sandpaper on the ends. So I scraped the sandpaper off, sanded everything down while I was waiting for this one to dry, and then took it over and shaped the end of it as such. Sanded it down and then got the lacquer on everything, and here we are back to put it all together and see how it works out. I've also went ahead and took some of the little scraps of sandpaper and stuck on the inside of the magnet. I figure it can't hurt, other than it's going to scratch the lacquer on the pivot point, but you know, so be it. It's not where it's going to be seen. So we're going to go ahead and stop you from wiggling. Get this little sucker put together. I also drilled out all the central holes. So the outside holes are still the 1/4 inch, but the center ones are now just a hair over a 1/4, like a 64th. Okay, so that's that guy. Let me change the position so you can see this all to go together at once, okay? Hold on just a second. and the whole thing just clips into there. And we have the camera crane. Once it's tightened up enough to actually do some good. I think I'm going to have to thin out the walls of those joints to make them flex a bit more. But you get the idea. With two arms, just this one and the base, it works because there's not as much weight out here. But this has more weight. I'm going to have to do some fidgeting and make it work, but it's still pretty handy. I don't know if I can take that up off. Sure I can. So I can't see the little screen to see if you're seeing it or not, but I hope you are. There it is. The camera's tilted at an angle, but there you go. And it's magnetized to the ceiling. Boom. It looks like it's working better hanging down than it is when it's standing up on end on something. So, but there you go, guys. From there, it's just put a camera in the little box on the end and start filming. And actually, since this is hanging upside down, I use this kind of holder, and that way I don't have to flip the camera up the other way, or use the program in it to flip the picture over. This way I can just run like that and it's fine. There you go, guys. Well, thanks for watching. Oh, almost forgot. For those of you that are looking at my new workstation and going, but won't that get chips all over the place? I'm sure you saw when I was showing you earlier, the blue curtain off to one side. Well, it actually is a curtain. It was up there before, but it was done differently. Now it's actually on the drawcord. So I can actually put it like that and keep my tools clean. So anyway, thanks for watching. A quick addendum to the video is that it now holds position. I took a really big washer and I notched the outside of it so it puts some pressure on some certain points on there. And then I also took the metal off of the rubber off the inside of the metal in here where it makes contact with the wood, and now it holds just fine. Nice and solid. Bingo. So we're in business, folks. So by the way, these can actually mount like this too. On the side of the lathe. And up, and I can actually mount that up on the edge of the bed, right above the work area, and it comes out and around far enough that it doesn't touch anything, even if I've got an 18-inch piece on there, maximum for this lathe. So, pretty cool. Alright guys, it's working. Onward and forward. See you next time.